Welcome to Economics 105, Introduction to Political Economy. I'm David Kotz. I'm an economics professor at UMass Amherst. In this course, we will be concerned with a list of economic problems. There is inequality by income, by race, by gender. This shows the remarkable gap between the pay of the average worker in a large corporation and the pay of the top person, the chief executive officer or CEO, and how it has changed over time. In 1965, that ratio was about 20 to 1. That is, the top person got about 20 times as much as the average worker. In 2016, it had risen to 347 times as much. Another problem, unemployment. All of the time in our economy, there are many workers who want a job, who need to work, but are not employed. There's a shortage of good jobs compared to the number of people who are entering the labor market and need good jobs. Another problem that U.S. students are probably very familiar with is the high cost of higher education. Many students, in fact, the average student, college student these days, graduates with a very high level of student debt, which can be difficult to pay off over the succeeding years. Another problem related to the economy, the high cost of housing. Housing costs have risen over time as a share of income. Some people end up paying half of their income for housing costs. Another problem, international conflicts that have to a significant degree economic factors as the underlying cause. Finally, I'll mention the threat that looms ahead of all of us, that is the threat of global climate change. Now, the aim of this course is to introduce students to the U.S. and global economies with the purpose of discovering the causes of the major economic problems that we face and to consider possible solutions. Now, there are a variety of different ways to understand the problems that we face. This course, as the name suggests, Introduction to Political Economy, follows what is called the political economy, or PE, approach to analyzing economic systems. In this approach, the economy is seen as part of a larger society, not an isolated set of relations that is independent of the other kinds of factors around in a society. What are those other factors? Well, I think it's helpful to think of society as having three main aspects. There's the economic aspect of society, which refers to the way people produce the things that are needed to sustain life and the way they distribute them, since production in society is always a social process that involves many people cooperating. The things we need must not only be produced, but also distributed among the people. Second side of society is the political aspect, which refers to governments, political parties, laws, legislatures, courts, executive branches. These are the institutions through which laws are made, interpreted, enforced, and changed. And finally, there is the cultural side of society. This refers to the philosophies, the religions, the literatures, the ways of thinking and expressing ideas. Here you see symbols of these three sides of society. And the relevance of this is that, according to the political economy approach, these three sides of society are interdependent. The political affects the economic, The cultural affects the economic, and the economic affects political and cultural. The political economy approach takes account of the interdependence among the economic, political, and cultural aspects of society. We will examine not just the production of goods and services, but also the distribution, often through exchange, as occurs in our society. Now, exchange, which refers to something like you go into a store to buy something, you give money, the store clerk gives you the good that you've picked out. Exchange is often a voluntary relation, and it involves equal relations between you and the person from whom you're buying something. In that sense, it's viewed as a horizontal relation. Production, the other side of economic life, however, usually involves unequal power relations. When you go to work, you're likely to have a boss. Another feature of the PE approach is that it considers the ways in which the economy changes over time. The important point here is that the economy has forces in it that tend to produce change. It does not remain the same. It evolves. A fourth side of the political economy approach, a fourth feature, is that it considers the actors that one has to analyze and understand to include groups and classes, not just individuals. Groups such as wage earners or owners of businesses. Those groups act in ways that are important for understanding the economy. Now, there are other approaches to economics. The approach that you would get if you take the usual introduction to micro or macro course is what is known as neoclassical economics. Neoclassical economics views market relations of equal exchange as the whole of the economy. They don't really look at production. Neoclassical economics assumes that unequal power relations do not exist in a competitive market economy where there are many buyers and many sellers. Neoclassical economics focuses on the condition of the economy when it is at rest, in equilibrium as it's called, in which nothing tends to change. And neoclassical economics views individuals as the only actors. What are the main actors in the economy? Is it just individuals, or does it also include groups? The PE approach assumes that while individuals are the main actors for some kinds of activities, groups are very important to understand the way the economy works. Political economy began to develop as a way of understanding the economy in the 19th century, and I'll mention a few of the key individuals who developed this particular approach. First, Karl Marx, who wrote in the second half of the 19th century and developed a number of ideas for analyzing how economies work. A second is John Maynard Keynes, a British economist who wrote in the early to mid 20th century and developed theories related to economic depressions and what governments can do about it. Another is Joseph Schumpeter, an economist who taught at Harvard in the early to mid 20th century and had important insights about competition and the advance of technology over time. Now, in this course, as in all economics courses, you will have to learn what are called economic models. An economic model is a simplified representation or picture of an economic relationship or economic system. For example, the capitalist economy that we have today can be studied by using a model in which we pretend there are only two actors. Those who own the businesses, referred to as capitalists, and those who do the wage labor, those who work for a wage, the workers. The reality is more complicated, of course. However, actual economic systems or actual economic relations are too complex to analyze directly, and economists of every stripe have to use simplified models in order to analyze how the system works. Now, what should you learn from this course? You are not expected to memorize economic facts like what was the US gross domestic product in 2016. What you should learn is the political economy analysis of how the economy operates, the roots of the economic problems we face, and the arguments for and against the various proposed solutions to our economic problems. Economics is a controversial subject, and in particular, the solutions involve a lot of debate and discussion, and you should learn both the pros and the cons. These 15 lectures introduce the main points in each section of the course, but more detailed material can be found in the other resources for this online course. Thank you.